Hey guys, it's me again. Doing another video. I know I said I would do this weekly, but over the last 2 days in doing therapy and helping other people, I've realized the amount of resources, whether it is me telling you something or whether it is me being open about my own experience, is necessary. So I decided to write down some topics about things that you guys have kept coming up, even in session and outside of session, like with my friends and through conversations and even with myself. So the first thing that came up was keeping a schedule. Why is it important? Because we don't really know how long we're going to be here. We don't know how long we're going to be quarantined. We don't know how long this whole process is going to take. So if we don't keep a schedule, to be honest with you, it's gonna feel like the days are blending. It's also gonna feel like there's a lot of disorganization, and for the kids, you know, for those who have kids, disruption of structure leads for a lot of misdiscipline, and I don't even think that's a word, but meaning like they're not going to be very disciplined and they're going to lose a sense of structure and discipline, which is necessary for all children. So keeping a structured time frame schedule is really important. There's a lot out there. I've posted a few on my Instagram, and I'll continue posting versions of different schedules that you guys can make for each of the households, right? Because each house is different and how you structure your day is different. So for example, me, I wake up, I meditate. Once I'm done meditating, I start my daily, like whether it's breakfast or, you know, taking some food out for lunch, or just kind of getting a little bit of that breakfast part like ready, or I'll eat it and I'll walk out. Then I'll go take a walk with my dog. Usually I would have done this like on a regular basis before all of this craziness. It would have been like 5 or 10 minutes. But now I kind of like stretched it out for about 40 minutes, just so that I can take some breathing, walking, just looking at different scenery and taking the time to move my body. Another thing I really found, you know, that worked or was really helpful is stretching. Kind of taking a moment to take a deep breath and stretch and just kind of like move out of my normal body, because I think if you're stuck at home and maybe if walking for you is a problem, stretching can definitely help. Small stretches. If you go on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find a million of them. If you go and you Google, even on Instagram or Google it, you will find a million forms of stretching. So that's the first part, schedule. Keeping a schedule, making sure that the schedule is on fleek, or you know, like structured, and keeping to that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is dealing with stress. I cannot tell you how overwhelming it has been on hearing you guys and hearing what you need and how much you lack and how overwhelming this completely drastic change of your lifestyle and your normal has been on you, both emotionally, physically, mentally, and on your families. And I feel like this kind of leads me to two different things. One, just handling stress in a more calming way. Finding it difficult if you live with stressful people, and also finding it difficult with people who at some point, and you know, this is just me being real, let's say your partner or your kids, you've only would spend like maybe 5 is a lot of hours, but maybe like 2 to 3 to 4 hours, right? The rest of the time you were sleeping, or they were out doing in school, doing activities, you were working, doing what you had to do. And so you guys in technicality would only spend the weekend together, and now you're together all the time. I think it's extremely important that you understand that it is, as much as it's stressful for you, it is stressful for them. And a whole bunch of people being stressed, sorry for that, but a whole bunch of people being stressed in one sitting does not help each other. So I find, right, that maybe doing the walks together can kind of help. Maybe putting in 1 or 2 walks, because that's another thing that I also added to my schedule. I walk in the morning and I walk in the afternoon. I find that that kind of really helped. Doing the Google classroom and kind of like doing a space in which you can have multiple conversations with multiple people. I heard that now Netflix is doing a like movie night where you guys can chime in together and watch the movie simultaneously at the same time. And I find that that's a great way to kind of keep people entertained. The one thing that I keep finding is a constant thing has been dealing with each other when you haven't really dealt with each other. And that's like something like, I think it's a personal thing, you know, if you haven't really taken the time to really get to know each other, it is gonna be hard, you know. And you know, you could say that you know someone, but when you're stuck in the house with them, you kind of begin to pick up on things that may have changed in their behavior and you didn't realize, whether it is like relationships have changed, or maybe the person themselves have changed and you have to readjust, or your children having their own personalities, getting frustrated. You know, kids, when they're smaller, it's hard for them to articulate emotionally. So there's just a lot of changes. We're all going through it, right? One thing I definitely realized was at one point, after being on the phone like with about maybe 6 clients, I started to literally need a minute to meditate. I was like, oh no, I need 5 to 10 minutes. And so I even texted a client and I was like, listen, I'm gonna be about 5-10 minutes late in our phone call because I need a minute. I did not realize how stressful this was gonna be. I was under the assumption, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, I could totally do phone sessions. I talk on the phone all the time. But I didn't realize how draining it was going to be energetically, right? As a spiritualist, energy-wise, like being on the phone and just my, you know, if you're a spiritualist and you understand that, like, sometimes your hearing gets a little off, right? Or you hear the, like, the buzzing or the ringing sound. That was also, like, really hard when it came to like being on the phone all the time. Like at one point I literally shut off my phone. I yesterday I went to sleep at 9 p.m., which is unheard of in my world. And I literally shut off my notifications for Instagram. I muted most of my conversations on WhatsApp. I just needed a minute. And that's like, and the next thing I also wanted to kind of mention, maybe turning off the notifications of all of the posts, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything that you're a part of, muting the notifications and watching and going in when you are ready, just so that you're not constantly looking at your phone and you're constantly seeing the multiple comments and news flashes and breaking and this and that. Like, that exhausted me. And for example, today's day 1 of me like shutting off all the notifications, and being able to do that, I felt like I was able to breathe a little. I was like, okay, I feel like I'll check my messages when I do. But obviously when I went on Instagram, I had like 14 messages and like like 20 different like notifications, and I was like, whoa, this is like super overwhelming. But I was like, I'm glad that I don't have to be checking this that often, or I don't see the notifications on my phone. This way I'm not overwhelmed with all that's happening in the world. With that being said, right, I find that this is also a time for reflection. Taking a moment to really reflect on what you're going through, what's brought you here. I know I kind of briefly touched upon that in the last video, but I think when we're now what, day 2, day 3, for some of us day 4, depends on when your job was shut down. I took a minute to kind of think about the things that I was avoiding. I found that there were a lot of areas of my life that I felt like, you know, never really looked at it this way, never really found the time to kind of see it in that way, or to really have conversations that I needed to have and that I kind of was avoiding, because work allows you to do that. Work allows you to avoid, you know. People who, you know, I heard an article earlier stating that like some people were gonna have difficulty like in either getting a divorce or making a lot of babies, because that's what the 2 things we're gonna do if you were stuck with your significant other. in a household, and not even your significant other. Maybe you're stuck with just a roommate, and out of being there for a while, you kind of find each other attractive. I mean, shit happens, right? But I find that like taking a moment to kind of ask yourself, why have I been avoiding this? Like, is there a way that I can kind of work through my feelings, and talk through that? I'm big on writing out lists. So I'll write like pros and cons, and like, where's this really coming from? Because the one thing I tell like a lot of my couples, like, when I'm in therapy, I tell them, why do you come in and the first thing you're doing is like maybe having an argument over dishes? Are you really arguing over the dishes? Some people will be like, yeah, we're arguing over the dishes. I'm like, but go a little deeper. Is it really the dishes, or is it the fact that maybe you feel underappreciated? Maybe you don't feel like you're being heard. Maybe you don't feel like you're being understood. Maybe, you know what, that day was rough. There's a million reasons as to why we feel irritated or upset or pissed off, or just maybe unsure of our emotions. So my suggestion to you is to kind of look within and ask yourself, like, where is this really coming from? How can I be more empathetic to myself and empathetic to the people around me? Because as much as you're going through it, they are too. I had a conversation with someone who's not necessarily here. They are away, but I was like, you don't know what it's like here. You have no idea what it's like and how great of a change it's been, so drastic. And yes, you know, we're in the beginning stages, like it's just day 2, day 3, but imagine day 30, imagine day 60, like how drastic of a change it is, you know. And it's going to take time for us to adjust, and some people will go in, they will shut down. But I think it's very important to keep the conversation going, reach out if you need to talk, be open, and be, most of all, empathetic to yourself and to the people around you. Take deep breaths, go take walks, meditate. Don't avoid your emotions, because it only makes it worse and makes you that much more irritable, and then you to take it out on somebody around you that's probably going through the same emotions. To our kids, sit them down, explain to them as best to your ability, because we are all going through it. You know, what is happening and how this is affecting them and how it will affect things going forward. I am a big believer in being honest and open with your children. Don't try to hide things from them. It's only going to make it worse later on, because you got to keep up the facade, right? Be open, be honest, be truthful, not just with your loved ones, but most of all with yourselves. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys soon.